they overemphasize health during the week, not on game day. They want Jalen Hurts to go win the game, um, and I applaud them for that. And he's better at it. So that's one. Number two is DeVonta, AJ, Dallas Goddard. One of them's always open.
You got your Mega Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald here with you on Birds 365. The countdown is on to Sunday Night Football when the Eagles and the Cowboys will do battle at Lincoln Financial Field. The 5-0 Eagles and the 4-1 Cowboys. You got to give them props. They're 4-1. Yeah. They lose their opener to Tampa Bay. Didn't play well. Dak Prescott didn't play well, gets hurt at the end of the game. And Cooper Rush has come in and won 4 straight games. I know he hasn't wowed me at all, but the Dallas defense has, and that's why they're 4-1. So this is a major showdown, not just because it's Eagles Cowboys, not just because it's an NFC East showdown, but these are two better teams in the National Football League facing off. Yeah, the biggest game this week, sorry to say, Eagle fans, is the Bills and the Chiefs, because that's a rematch from last year, the controversial ending, the whole overtime thing. But easily the second best game nationally is Cowboys and Eagles. So they will get the big spotlight on Sunday night, which the Eagles can once again shine in and go to 6-0. All right, J-Mac, I got a specific strategy question for you for the game Sunday night. This is a trick question, and I'll apologize for you ahead of time. Maybe you do know it right off the top of your head. Receiving yards by the Philadelphia Eagles through 5 games this year out of the backfield. How many yards do you think they got?
Not many. I don't know. Let's see. Sanders, Gainwell, Boston, maybe 120, somewhere in that range.
How does 64 sound?
Yeah, that's bad. That's
64
bad.
Yards receiving by their backs this year.
I think I'm, Jody, I've been talking about this since the summer. Kenny Gainwell did not look good in the summer at all. I mean, at all. And that has kind of manifested itself. If anybody was going to get receiving yards in the backfield, it was going to be Gainwell.
Right.
He's not relevant. He's not playing well. So, and Miles has done a little bit better than I would have thought. What's Miles got? He's got most of that, right?
He's got 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
Miles has 41 yards.
Yeah.
Kenny
I thought he had a little bit more than that.
21 yards.
Yeah.
And Boston Scott has 1 catch for 2 yards. Yeah. So that's it. That all 3 guys combined have 64 yards in receiving in 5 games. Do that math. That's less than 13 yards a game.
But I'm gonna revert with who cares? I mean, this is a second-ranked offense. I mean, a lot of it is, and I talked about this as well. Why would you dump it off to a running back to get 5-6 yards when your quarterback can get 12-13 yards in a scramble? That's part of it. Another part of it is
I'll argue with you. Jalen Hurts can get hurt. You let him run the football. Jalen Hurts get hurt. Why would you want to put Jalen Hurts at risk? Jalen Hurts is our guy. Well, you don't necessarily believe that. I don't necessarily believe it. I think he's one of the tougher quarterbacks in the National Football League. But you're going to have the hue and cry from the fan base. You can't do that. You can't let Jalen Hurts put his body at risk. We got to keep him healthy. The Eagles themselves, they so overemphasize health with the way they practice. You going to put Jalen Hurts at risk?
Well, they overemphasize health during the week, not on game day. They want Jalen Hurts to go win the game. And I applaud them for that. And he's better at it. So that's one. Number two is DeVonta, AJ, Dallas Goddard. One of them's always open. I've heard people complain Quez Watkins doesn't get the football. Who gives a lion, what? No, he doesn't get the damn football because he doesn't deserve to get the football because the other guys are so good.
It's the same thing as Nakobe Dean on defense. There's
Yeah.
a reason why Nakobe Dean's not playing, because Kaiser White and TJ Edwards are playing as well as they are. It isn't because they're holding him back or they're afraid to put him in. No, the guys in front of him are just better. And the same thing with Quez.
Yeah.
Quez, nice guy. We know you can get behind the defense, but we're sorry. DeVonta and AJ Brown get open more often than you do. That's why they're going to get the football.
I don't get this obsession with numbers, stats. I told you that I say it all the time. I told you the two categories the Eagles value, and that's it. The one I've been getting this week is passing touchdowns because Jalen doesn't have a lot of passing touchdowns. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Why is Miles Sanders getting the ball? Why is Kenny Gainwell getting the ball? I mean, one of my favorite things, I can say this now, because Doug Peterson eventually said it on the record, but he first told us off the record, and we were having a big discussion. If you remember, Matt Collins was playing a lot at the time. I mean, playing a lot, and he didn't get a target. He didn't get a snip. And people would say, Matt Collins isn't getting receptions. And Doug looked at the person that shall remain nameless, and said, he's the sixth freaking option. If I'm designing plays for Matt Collins, you guys should kill me. Now, he eventually said that on the record as well. I don't know what people think, but you don't go down to number 6. All right. You don't go down to the 6th option. You're designing plays to get the football for AJ Brown, for Dallas Goddard, DeVonta Smith, in the passing game. Everybody else is getting fumes, Jody. Everybody else is getting fumes.
Here's the reason why I brought up the lack of yardage in the passing game for the guys coming out of the backfield. There's a reason behind me pointing that out. Not that, oh my God, how do they not do it? But it is what it is. And it's been what it's been to this point. And I would have to go through all 5 game tapes, but I'm just doing it off the top of my head and watching the game on TV, which I do. You're actually live at the game, so you can speak to this better than I can. It seems to me like they very rarely keep the back in for blocking purposes. That even though they've only got 60 some odd yards passing to the backs in the first 5 games, they're always in the pattern. It's just that Jalen Hurts is going elsewhere with the football and or pulling it down and taking off and making a play with his legs. Like you said, that would be the better of the 2 options, which I agree with. Do you think this week, with as good a pass rush as the Cowboys have, I think they're number 2 in the NFL with 20 sacks, they keep it back in a little bit more often? And is that a strength for any of the Eagles running backs?
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's not, is it?
That's part of the reason. I mean, yeah, they don't have good pass protection. That's kind of a lost art, by the way. There aren't many good pass protectors anymore as running backs. There's a few. But man, watch some old tape of Emmitt Smith as a bad. That's one of the things I said about Emmitt Smith. That guy was, at the time it was Emmitt Smith versus Barry Sanders. Everybody would say Barry Sanders was the best running back. And I would always say it's Emmitt Smith. And I would say Emmitt is the best running back. Barry Sanders is the best runner because Emmitt was great in pass protection. It was a really good pass receiver too, as an outlet receiver. Just a well-rounded player. And obviously they're both Hall of Fame players.
But. And he had a nose for the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
When they got in close, you knew Emmitt was getting it. You know he was getting into the end zone. That's why Aikman had so few touchdown passes.
Yeah.
He was, Troy Aikman out of Hall of Fame. He doesn't throw touchdown passes. Well, if you had Emmitt Smith and you got the ball at the 6-yard line, what would you do with it if you were a coach? You just, hey, go ahead, throw it, Troy, because we need to get you more touchdown passes? No, Emmitt pounded home again.
Yeah. And, kind of a lost start. Miles isn't good at it. Kenny's probably a little bit better, but he's not good at it. Boston's doesn't play. And Trey Sermon just got here. No, I mean, you think they're going to save you from Micah Parsons?
Right.
He might
Here's well,
he
then
might be
let me ask you the follow-up question. Dallas Goddard is so good at getting out and making plays in the pass game. Another player whose non-strength is blocking. We know that he's a great receiving tight end, but he can block. We know that if they need him to block for running plays when they have him out there on the field, he's really good. They don't ever keep him in to add to the pass protection. He's going out. If it's a pass play, he's going out 19 out of 20 times. They almost never ask him to stay in. The Cowboys have had the ability, kind of like the Eagles against the Commanders, to get there with 4. They don't need to bring a 5th to get to the quarterback. They're doing it with just their 4. What if they go complete aggressive and they're bringing 5? You're not keeping it back in. You just told me that. None of them are really good at it. I'm going to say they're not going to keep Goddard in there because they never do. If it's a pass call and Goddard's on the field, he's going out. He's not staying in to help. You leaving it all up to Jalen? You got to read the extra man and know exactly where he's coming from and avoid that to be able to throw the football. What do you do if the Cowboys are blitzing an inordinate amount of times on Sunday night, John?
You could worry. I mean, it's Dan Quinn. I don't think you have to worry about that. But it by some, strange bolt of lightning, he turns into a different person overnight and feels like he has to do something different. Then you have all these, and that's what the bubble screens were about last week about the blitz. Now, I hope the Eagles coaching staff, and that's Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, come up with a different plan than just constant throw it out to the outside and see what happens. That's more that I would put more on the coaching staff to have better blitz alerts in the game plan. But you don't have to worry about that. I mean, Dan Quinn's Dan Quinn, and it's going to be cover 3, and there's going to be, you mentioned it, he's trying to get home with 4, and it's about making things muddy for the quarterback, reading coverage, and he's been very successful. One thing about coaches, they're not doing that. They're not practicing to do a certain thing. Forget about this week, through the summer, through the off season, and then showing up for one particular game day and throwing all that in the garbage and becoming a completely different guy.
See, but that would impress the snot out of me. That would really show me something. You want to prove yourself the best coach on the planet. And we're talking about Dan Quinn being one of the best candidates to get a head coaching job next year. Out of nowhere, becoming a blitzing team when you've been showing for years, not just here with Dallas, but prior to this, in your head coaching spot and your assistant coaching spot in Seattle, he is a track record of just trying to get there with 4.
Yeah,
coming and out and being uber aggressive against the Eagles with a blitz, pull that off, knock off an undefeated team. Yeah, you'll be put on a Jordan Payton as the hottest assistant coach out there.
You might do it in a big spot. You might do it. You certainly have. It's like Jonathan Gannon always says. Everything is in the game plan. You might pull it out in a big spot, but if you're expecting Dallas to be Arizona and blitzing 50% of the time, that's not what they do. So they're not going to change that. Now, if it's 3rd and 7 in the 4th quarter of a tight game, here might come the overload and Parsons gets loose and you turn the football over. That might happen, but not the consistency of it. They're not changing their whole philosophy for one game.
All right, do me a favor. Look up, I'm sure you know how to look this stat up. Percentage of blitz plays team where they rank in the NFL. I'm with you. I know they're in the bottom half, but I'd be interested to see if they're in the middle of the pack or if they're down there in the top 5 or 6, because off the top of my head, and I don't watch every Cowboy game, every single snap, because I'm watching Eagles. I would think that they're in the lower third of the NFL. But do me a favor, see if you can look that up. Maybe Quinn has been a little bit more aggressive because the Cowboys have got home second most in the National Football League
Yeah,
this
they
year,
have
and I'm sure.
athletic linebackers too. Well, obviously people know Leighton Vander Esch is still there, but they picked up Anthony Barr who can do it. So maybe they're a little bit, and obviously, technically, Mike Parsons is a linebacker, but
Yeah, and
he's a
I count.
linebacker like Hassan Reddick is a linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have the people who can do it. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's all I
See
would
if you
say.
can tell me what the numbers are on how much they blitz so far this year, because that does scare me a little bit. They're a good defense. They've been able to get sacks. They do it the way they do it, and the Eagles don't have that alternative to try and adjust and go, yeah, but we're so good on the outside. We've got such a good tight end if you keep the running back in, or we have a guy who can make a play out of the backfield and turn it upfield and get us 25 yards on a screen or a flare pass. They never do that and keep Goddard in. The Eagles never add someone to the protection. Now, they've got the best offensive line in the NFL.
That empty set has been very successful for them. That's part of the reason. And when you talk about, Miles Sanders being split out, or maybe it's Kenny Gainwell, or maybe, it's the extra tight end, whatever, and they're going empty. It's about spacing. It's about creating spacing for AJ Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Dallas Goddard. So that's their guys. That's who the passing game is built on, and that's who the passing game should be built on. And number 2 offense in the NFL. So I can't criticize Nick Sirianni just yet for doing it the way he's doing it.
When they go empty backfield too tight, then I know at least they got a chance to have an extra blocker because his name's Jack Stoll. They're not worried about getting Jack into the pattern as the make the difference guy for them. He's going to stay in and try and make sure the quarterback stays clean. All right, we're cleanly going to take a timeout here, then come back with our bud, Mikey Miss, part of the Eagles post-game show right here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We'll get a little Cowboys Eagle talk going with Mike Missinelli next here on Birds 365.